the plate. Hear that crowd roar, the Angels minor league reports keeping score. 66 are swinging down in Inland Empire. Dust Devils heating up the reaching high. Rocket City Trash Pandas, they're coming through. Salt Lake Bees buzzing, making their move. Dominick Lorenz breaking down the play. Halos in the infield each and every day. Prospects climbing, chasing that dream. From the minors to the majors, part of the team. Fastballs flying, big hits we seek. Catch it all on the Angels minor league report each week. Oh, each week.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome on in to another episode of the Angels Minor League Report, hosted by yours truly, Dominick Lorenz of Catella Chronicles, here on the Halos in the Infield Network. So glad to have you along with us already, episode number 10 in this amazing show on this network. So thank you guys for liking, commenting, and subscribing to all of YouTube and all the social media sites as well. Myself and the entire team here at HITI appreciate all the love and support as the Angels do their thing at the big level on a winning streak, looking to keep it rolling. A couple days late on the episode this week, but we just adjusted the schedule to kind of get things going with the Angels not having an off day. Todd, Fernando want to get the Angels and A's series kind of previewed as well on Monday and Tuesday, and a couple other shows got swung around, but I come in here on a beautiful, as I record Wednesday night, Thursday morning when this gets released. Hopefully you are enjoying your week. We're getting ready for the Memorial Day weekend, and we have quite a show for you today. It's going to be a little different than we've kind of done in the past. We'll still go over what happened last week in the Angels minor league system for each squad and kind of give a standings update. But for this week, instead of focusing on players that did really well last week, I want to give a transaction report. And there's also quite a lot of rehab assignments that need to be covered as well between a lot of Angels bullpen arms that are starting to refire and come back up the system. So a little bit of a catch-up week here on the Angels Minor League Report. And as always, after this episode, next week, it'll go back to the original format of kind of going through each week, especially with Memorial Day on Monday. We'll get everything squared away. And then the following week will be the first show of June, which means we'll recap May and choose our players of the month from each level of the Angels minor league system, AAA, AA, high A, and single A. And of course, that final wild card winner, your top 5 players of the month in the Angels minor league system. But that's a couple weeks down the road. Let's dive into it right now as our wonderful sponsors, 714 Tickets, Bruheim, Underdog Sportsbook, and the OC Dugout, sponsoring us here in 2025 on the HITI Network. We'll get into them in a little bit during the halfway mark of the show, but let's dive on into AAA Salt Lake. A lot of news coming out of the Bees here this week. Last week, split a 6-game series against the Sacramento River Cats, and it kind of brought out some good offense, good pitching as well, a little bit of both, in the up-to-the-minute standings. Even though a couple games have already taken place this week, as the Bees are playing host to the Omaha Storm Chasers, which is the Kansas City Royals minor league affiliate. At this moment right now on Wednesday night, May the 21st, Salt Lake 20-26, 10 games back of the Las Vegas Aviators, the A's affiliate, who are currently in first place in the Pacific Coast League West Division. 3 names that I want to get to right off the bat. And it starts off all the way at the top with the Angels' #1 prospect in Christian Moore. We talked about him in the springtime during spring training in Tempe, Arizona. And we really haven't talked too much about Christian Moore yet this season because a lot of struggles going on in the early onset of the season, especially in April with the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And even through the struggles, finding the intangibles and finding that consistency that we talked about last week, the Angels felt confident enough to have the 8th overall pick from last year's draft class, 2024, to bump him up from AA to AAA. So before he even made the jump from Rocket City to Salt Lake. What did he do for us in Rocket City? Well, in 34 games, he batted just .234, 4 doubles, 2 triples, 1 home run, 14 RBIs, and 21 walks. So for some, you could say the 8th overall pick should be better than that. True. But in comparison, he batted .347 across 2 levels of minor league ball last year. So can you say pitching has maybe adjusted to the 8th overall pick? You could say that. Could you say Christian Moore had a rough start to the first month plus of the season? You could have a defense for that as well, regardless of how it looks. He got better as the month of April ended and May came about, because at a certain point in April, he was batting below the Mendoza line in the 160, 170 mark. So to boost up those numbers by 50 to 60 points, throw up some extra base numbers with the 4 doubles, 2 triples, and a home run, I think you could see he was going in the right direction as the season came about. And don't forget, Christian Moore did get some time with the big club at spring training this past March. So what does he do now? He goes to Salt Lake. It's a different caliber, right? You're the number 1 prospect in your system. The Angels now have their top 2 prospects in Christian Moore and Caden Dana at Salt Lake Bees now. So you say, okay, what can Christian Moore do for you? Okay. He's 22 years old, 6 foot, 210 pounder. This is a guy that the Angels want to have as the cornerstone second baseman in the farm system moving forward, and then eventually coming up to the big club and essentially being Chris Netto's, or I guess you could say it's short, the left-hand man in that case scenario. So Christian Moore, as I pull up the stats from their first game of the series against the Omaha Storm Chasers, Christian Moore gets on base multiple times. He gets on base regardless if it's a hit and a walk, and that's something that the Angels love in that on-base capability that they want to see from these young guys. You're seeing it now with Hoppy, Neto, Shawnuel, and those are the right intangibles moving forward as this organization continues to forge into the future. But against Omaha, he went 3 for 4 batting, 2 walks, 3 for 4 with 2 walks in the ball game, a couple of runs scored. So a great debut right there at AAA. And then he picked up a hit so far tonight as we record, as that game's still going on. But right now, seeing the ball extremely well from a great farm system in the Kansas City Royals. And I think it's just a matter of time right now. Do the Angels make a move and say, hey, we want to see Christian Moore at the big level post All-Star break, depending where the team is at? Maybe you make a case for that. You'll see how the Angels play in May, June, July, when we get into the dog days of August and September. But I think, as some could say, it's not a great move because he wasn't playing well at the AA level. I think he wasn't the 8th overall pick for no reason. The Tennessee Volunteer alum, I think this is a guy that you need to present him with the challenge. And we knew at the AA level, as we've talked about before, it is a pitcher-friendly league, and that is where the Angels like to stuff their starters, bullpen arms, to get work at the AA level and work on their craft. So to pull Christian Moore out of that kind of system in the Southern League and put him in a Pacific Coast League that is high offensive orientated, I think this is a move not only to kind of garner the confidence back in the offensive numbers that were, again, in the 230 range batting average so far this season in Rocket City, but to be able to hit the ball at a consistent level, get to see on the cusp of MLB talent and even some that come into a situation in that regard. I think this is an opportunity for the Halos to see what Christian Moore is truly made for and to go in and about his business and make this case scenario happen. Also, Robert Stevenson, he's now up at the AAA level, as Stevenson was playing with the Inland Empire 66ers this past week as they took on the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes, and we'll talk about the 66ers in a little bit. But Stevenson, coming back from the Tommy John surgery, he's finding a way to get it done in the right manner. And I think the Angels bullpen right now that needs a lot of help. They've been stretched out to max capacity over the last couple of weeks. We saw it in the Dodgers series. We're seeing it here up in Sacramento against the A's. I think getting Stevenson back as a guy who the Angels signed to a long-term deal when he came over from Tampa Bay, has not pitched, got hurt, recovered, had Tommy John when he went back to AAA. It has been a rough start to the career of Robert Stevenson. So to get him back in and find a way to work around some things, I think to add him and Christian Moore both going to the AAA level, that is a positive sign to the Angels, not only from a minor league perspective of Moore, but on the MLB side of things to say reinforcements are coming. Kenley Jansen's been locking things down as a closer for the Angels, which is great. Then, of course, you have Zephyr John, who looked good but not great. The bullpen, as mentioned, has been taxed a lot. So arms are coming, Angel fans. They're just getting their time preparing at the AAA level. But Robert Stevenson had a clean 1-2-3 frame against the Quakes on Saturday. He also struck out Teoscar Hernandez of the Dodgers in a rehab assignment as well. So a mano versus a mano on the big league level at the minor league ballparks. But I liked what I saw from Stevenson, had the high velocity, 97 plus, and I think that would be a great setup guy to Kenley Jansen moving forward for the Halos. Also at the AAA level, Sam Bachman, another guy that the Angels would love to have in their bullpen right now as that middle relief swing guy, because if you think of it in many case scenarios, the Angels need to have more arms in the bullpen. I cannot stress that enough. And Bachman, we saw what he could do when he was with the Angels not too long ago, a couple of seasons ago. And when Bachman is on, another highly touted arm in the Angels farm system, drafted high, and now seeing the ability. 1-2 record of 3.18 ERA in 11 games so far this, in his Angels career, which was back in 2023. Did not see MLB time in 2024, and he's working his way back there now from thoracic outlet syndrome, which is something that the Angels have had players in the past have. So working your way back from that is not, and I repeat, not an easy feat. And so far through 2 teams, he's been at Inland Empire and Salt Lake, 6 total appearances, 2 with Inland Empire, 4 with the Bees. He's had a hold in both levels, 6 total innings, 1 run. It was not earned on 5 hits, 5 strikeouts. The thing that's a little sketchy, 6 walks. However, I think when you're rehabbing, you've got to go through your arsenal. You've got to go through your mechanics. And even if something is not feeling right, and I'm not saying feeling right like injury, but more so, I don't have that command grip tonight. Keep throwing it and find a way to navigate around it. So when you get back to the Angels, you'll be able to have the ability to get the job done. And you'll kind of have that mindset of, okay, I can flip back in the memory bank. A couple weeks ago in Salt Lake, I was doing this. Instead of having the grip placement here, I'll do it, adjust it a little bit. Arm slot, communicate with your catcher. That's what the minor leagues are for when you're looking at the rehab assignments of these MLB-ready players, the Stevensons, the Bachmans, when Yoan Moncada was rehabbing with the thumb injury. Zach Neto when he was at AAA earlier this year. It's all about getting your mechanics back up to where they need to be so you are absolutely ready from the jump when you get back to the Angels. So I think really great work and great stuff for the Bees in terms of Christian Moore, Robert Stevenson, and Sam Bachman. This week, the Bees taking on the Omaha Storm Chasers at home in Salt Lake City, Utah. 20-26 record, 10 games behind the Las Vegas Aviators. And, getting the time, winning, and again, like we talked about last week, finding that consistency is going to be huge for a team that has some players that are one call away from the big league level. Nico Cavadas and Carter Keyboom over at third. You never know when your name might be called in those case scenarios, but we know Stevenson and Bachman are close to coming back for our Halos. As we drop on down to the AA level side of things, the Rocket City Trash Pandas have been such a great minor league team in the Angels system. Unfortunately, as of right now, having a rough start. They lose tonight 3-0 to Chattanooga, and they had come off a series loss to the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, losing 4 of 6 in that series. And with the loss tonight, as we record this episode on a Wednesday night, Rocket City just 12-27 here in 2025. Not a great mark. They are currently the worst team in the Southern League. And funny enough, 9 games back of the Birmingham Barons. So somewhat, some way, you can still try to navigate your way back in this series. However, or not just series, but month and the first half of the season. But right now, Rocket City having an immense, strugglesome start to the 2025 season. However, more reinforcements on the way for the Angels. And in terms of the bullpen, we all know this name, Jose Quijada. He's been up and down. Saw him in spring training, was outrighted to AAA, went back down to AA to work on the mechanics, work on the arsenal. And he's done, actually, funny enough, a very good job this year at the minor league level. Here in 2025, he's been all out with Rocket City, just 4 games. Again, small sample size. But in 4 games, no record, a 2.70 ERA, 3 1/3 innings pitched, 1 run, 2 hits, and the only run was on a home run. So very good numbers. And if you look at the walk and strikeout splits, 4 walks, 9 strikeouts, opponents batting just 167. A lefty. Somebody the Angels need out of that bullpen currently, because the Angels are very thin with left-handed pitchers in the bullpen as we speak. Brock Burke is probably the biggest notoriety name out of that bunch. Quijada needs to get back to prime form ASAP for this Angels bullpen. If you break down his numbers as an Angel, his best year was actually, even though the record doesn't speak for itself, his lowest ERA year was actually 2024. 2-2 record, of 3.26 ERA in 22 appearances. He had 7 holds in 19 1/3 innings pitched. Before that, his most appeared season with the Halos, 42 games in 2022. He carried a 3.98 ERA, had 12 holds, 3 saves through 40 2/3 innings. What can Quijada bring to the Angels whenever that time is called to bring him back to the big level? Because in my opinion, I think Quijada, when the time comes, he comes straight back to the Angels from Rocket City. I don't think they mess with him at the Pacific Coast League with that high offensive type of league. I think it's just to bring another lefty into that bullpen to support. And if you can get guys like Stevenson, Bachman, and Quijada going at their best level, that is 3 boosted arms in this Angels bullpen that can really supplement what is happening right now. Again, for those that are watching here on a Thursday morning and wherever you may be listening to, tonight the Angels in Sacramento. Kohanowitz only lasted 4+ innings tonight. High pitch count. The Angels haven't had a day off in more than a week and a half. And their next off day isn't going to be until next Thursday after they wrap up the homestand between the Marlins and the Yankees. So needing the Angels pitching staff, the starting staff, to go deep into games, when that doesn't happen and there's really no off days, and guys like Kenley Jansen have pitched 4 games in 5 days and other guys have been spotty here and there, it is a very tough spot for Ron Washington to manage in that case scenario. So we all can talk about Ron Washington can't manage the bullpen. As a manager, and I'm not speaking from experience, I've never been a manager, but from the optics, it is incredibly, incredibly hard to manage a bullpen without days rest. And if your starters can't get the minimum innings, 5 or 6 that you would like them to get in a given night, you really need to rely on those arms that you're calling up. Hunter Strickland came up, did good work. Hector Neris has done decent enough work to kind of bridge the gap. But again, Stevenson, Bachman, and Quijada would be huge assets to come up from the minor league level following their rehab assignments. This would be huge, huge for the Angels bullpen. But Rocket City this week on the road against the Cincinnati Reds affiliate, the Chattanooga Lookouts. And right now they just got to find some wins. 12-27 mark, 9 games out of first place and 15 games under 500. A rare feat that you don't want to accomplish for Rocket City, as they've been perennial first place and postseason teams in the Southern League since their inception a couple of years ago in Alabama. So interesting stuff coming from the 2 highest levels of ball in the Angels minor league system. So we'll see how it all kind of goes down over the next couple of weeks, the rest of this week in their games, and again into next week to round out the month of May. But for this point of the show, as today on the Angels minor league report, it's a little bit of a catch-up day, finding some big league arms that have been down rehabbing in the farm system. And after we kind of take a little bit of a short 1.5-minute break to give a shout out to all of our sponsors here on the Halos in the Infield Network, there's another Angels bullpen arm that we're going to cover. He got transferred down to High A Tri-City just a couple of weeks ago. You know who it is. I won't spoil it because you're going to have to wait for this commercial timeout to talk about that right-handed arm out of the bullpen, now trying to convert him to a starter out at High A Tri-City. But we'll get into Tri-City and the Inland Empire 66ers in just a moment. Stick around for more Angels Minor League Report after we show some love, as we always do at the halfway mark of the show. 714 Tickets, Bruheim, Underdog Sportsbook, and the OC Dugout.
Brought to you by 714 Tickets in Anaheim, your trusted source for Angels tickets at unbeatable prices with no hidden fees. Whether it's home or away, they've got your seat covered. Visit them at 2424 East Catella Avenue, Anaheim, or online at 714tickets.com. Mention HITI and get 10% off your purchase. And Bruheim, Anaheim's premier craft brewery, pouring fresh, locally brewed beers in a welcoming atmosphere for Angels fans and beer lovers alike. Stop by their tap room at 1931 East Wright Circle, Anaheim, or check them out at bruheim.com. Mention HITI and get 10% off your tab. The OC Dugout, your one-stop shop for officially licensed Angels memorabilia, custom jersey framing, and exclusive autograph signings with your favorite players. Visit them at 1928 East Center Street, Anaheim, or online at theocdugout.com. Support the businesses that support Halos in the infield.
Absolutely. Always sponsor 714 Tickets, Bruheim, Underdog Sportsbook, and the OC Dugout. Phenomenal sponsors of the network here. For the fans, by the fans, by the fans, for the fans, however you want to say the slogan. This is a network for you, the Angel fans, as we can come together and either celebrate or commiserate our wonderful Halos this season in 2025. But I gave you the hook before the commercial timeout. Let's talk about that pitcher that's out at High A Tri-City. That is Ryan Johnson. Ryan Johnson, who didn't play a single game of minor league ball after he was drafted, had a great spring training, made the bullpen for the Angels. His first career relief appearance did not go well. Basically bounced back with a win, was one of the stellar marks of this Angels bullpen in the month of April. But then getting sent back down during some of the Angels losing ways, and they want to elongate him into a starter's role. So they like what they see out of the arsenal of Ryan Johnson. And so far, at the big league level, just putting into perspective what he has done so far this year between the Angels and now Tri-City. 1-1 with a 7.36 ERA in 14 games. At the Northwest League of Tri-City, no record, 2 games, both in a starter's capacity, and a 4.15 ERA. The first start came just a couple of weeks ago, as I'll bring it up right here. As for Ryan Johnson, when you're a guy that comes up from the big league level and finds a way to find yourself back down at the minor league level, you're probably thinking, and most fans do, that it is a horrible demotion. How dare he be sent that low? It's kind of a demerit at that point. Well, again, when you go back down to the lower levels, the point is to work on the intangibles. And the intangibles for Ryan Johnson right now is to elongate into a starter. We like your stuff. We like your mentality. Go down against lesser hitters at that level, pretty much probably in the range of like 18 to 23 years old on average, and go dominate. Go do what you have to do. Go eat up some innings and find a way to get the job done. And I think Ryan Johnson right now is a perfect example of that, as over the last couple of 2 starts, I should say, the longest he went was 3 innings in a game. He had a shutout performance in his second start. The first one was a little wobbly, gave up 2 runs. However, still going through the motions and elongating him, I really think this might be the rest of a 2025 project. Now, what I'd like to see for the Angels to treat Ryan Johnson is start elongating. He went less than 2 innings the first time around, got up to 3 innings the second time. I think if you can build him up to 4 or 5 innings on a consistent basis, send him to Double-A, send him to Rocket City, a pitcher-friendly league, as we've talked about before, and see what he can do against the next level of batters. If you like where he goes, go back to Triple-A. If the Angels want to bring him back up, I'm going to highly go against it, because to kind of mess with the psyche of a guy like Ryan Johnson, you're a starter at the beginning, a reliever at the beginning of the year. We're going to send you down to High A and become a starter. Go to Double-A and become a starter. Oh, but we need you back up here for a relief appearance because we have either injuries or we just need an extra arm. You're messing with the guy's psyche. Let a starter be a starter. Let a reliever be a reliever. That's what the Angels have done with Sam Bachman, was drafted as the starter, said, hey, you need to be a reliever. And that's what they focused on the right-hander. And they're going to do the same thing here with Ryan Johnson. So for him, just 2 starts, very small sample size. We'll see how he goes about his action this week and kind of finishing up May. I think best case scenario for Johnson would be to go to Double-A by 4th of July. I think if you give him one more month, the month of June at Tri-Cities, that would give him for sure at least 5 more starts, depending on how the schedule and where they have him in the rotation. I would say 5 to 6 more appearances in a starter's capacity. Then that kind of gives you an 8 to 10 game sample size of what is he like as a starter, because he's never kind of been like that, being drafted and coming up on into the Angels system. And really not so much the system as really draft, spring training, boom, Angels baseball, big league batters. So I think patience is going to be the best remedy for Johnson in this case scenario. With his team, the Tri-City Dust Devils, they went 3-3 against the Hillsboro Hops last week, and now hold a record as they are on the road against the Spokane Indians, the Rockies affiliate. Tri-City, 20-20 record, 3.5 games behind the Hillsboro Hops of first place in the Northwest League, and it is a very close league. Hillsboro in first, Eugene and Spokane tied for second, 3 games back. Tri-City 3.5, Everett 4.5, and Vancouver 7 games back. So really everybody is one little jumbled up ball of a mess in that 6-team Northwest League. I think Tri-City, if you look at every single minor league team in this Angels farm system to this date right now this year, Tri-Cities is the most complete minor league team and has the best shot of anybody to make the postseason or go for that first half title in the Angel system. So it'll be good to see kind of where the stats align again, talking about Ryan Johnson and the rest of this squad, where it can be once the calendar flips from May to June. And when we get to that end of June period, that's when that first half, 132 games, 66 first half, 66 second half. You never know what can happen. Let's see if Tri-City, who has been perpetually at the bottom of the barrel in the Northwest League, can kind of rise above 3.5 games back against Hillsboro as they're playing on the road against the Spokane Indians this week. Dropping it down back locally to the Inland Empire 66ers of the California League. They're kind of in the same boat as the Rocket City Trash Pandas at the bottom of the California League South Division and overall worst record in the Cal League with a loss tonight against the Modesto Nuts, 14-27. And they are coming off an absolute rough series against the Quakes, the Dodgers affiliate, losing 5 of 6 in that series. And I had the opportunity to go to the game last Wednesday, and Inland Empire lost last Tuesday 25-8. They followed it up game 2 in that series, losing 12-8. Some tough pitching, bad defense, trying to go back to the drawing board, if you could say, in that series. So Inland Empire having a rough go about it this season. And when you look at it from a whole, wins and losses come day by day. All you can do as a player and as a coaching staff is get better day in and day out. And hopefully we've seen it before with the 66ers in years past. They could have a rough first half, but somehow at the end of July, August, they turn it on and make a playoff push near the back end of the season. There was a couple of transactions coming over from the Arizona Complex League to Inland Empire. And one of those transactions is an interesting one that I kind of looked through and I said, I think this one could be a nice little passion project and someone to dive into and kind of focus on throughout the year. And it's the infielder / shortstop Edgar Alfonzo I want to get into in this show today. Edgar Alfonzo, 21-year-old, out of Cuba, signed to the Angels minor league system when he was 17 years old. 5'9", 175-pounder, switch hitter, throws right. And Edgar Alfonzo, again, 17 years old when signed with the Angels. He has been through the ringer, I will say. Signed June 7th, 2021. Was sent to the Dominican Summer League to get acclimated to the Angels farm system. He then gets placed on the 60-day injured list the following June of 2022. He then gets activated in October of that year, end of season, kind of rest up, get ready for 2023. He gets ready for 2023, goes to the Arizona Complex League, stays there for the majority of the season, where in the Complex League in 35 games bats .247, 7 RBIs with 2 doubles and a triple. Okay, pedestrian, coming off of injury in 2022, rough season, battle back. 2024 plays 42 games that season, struggles again. .217 average with 11 RBIs and 5 doubles. That's pretty much it. He's been at the Complex League now for 3 seasons, 2023, 2024, and 2025. He played 5 games, a .300 average with a double and 1 RBI. So you're probably thinking, Dominic, what the heck are you smoking? Why are we bringing up Edgar Alfonzo at this point when his numbers are pedestrian and he's not a highly touted top 30 prospect? I think it's because, one, the Inland Empire 66ers, one of their great infielders, Caleb Bartolero, was put on the injured list, 7-day IL this week. So you needed a body, you needed a bat. I think what a lot of people misinterpret when you come to the minor league system as a foreign-born player, if it's Venezuela, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, not just the Hispanic-speaking countries, but anywhere else, anywhere outside of the United States, there is that harsh transition. And at 17 years old, going to the Dominican Summer League and batting .231 with 15 RBIs and 20 walks, he sees a lot of walks, 20 at the Dominican Summer League in 21, 11 in 2023, 13 in 2024. He gets on base. The on-base percentage is over 300 in almost every year that he's been in the Angels farm system. I think when you have a team like the Inland Empire 66ers, again, the minor league system focuses on individual player development. The Angels want to develop a player like this in Alfonzo. You want to see a kid that you signed in your minor league system at a very young age of 17 as one of your international prospects, and you want to build him up. You've seen how the Angels have failed like that, and the biggest name that you can think of in the foreign market that they failed on was a guy named Roberto Baldacchini. Everybody said this was going to be the next, I don't want to say Derek Jeter with, Hall of Fame, acclamations. But I think there was a comparison to maybe like Eric Ibar, Howie Kendrick, somewhere in that realm. But it never came to fruition. The bat never came about, injuries built up, and the defense wasn't there. And this is my drastic kind of soapbox moment to the Angels and all minor league organizations, and mostly major league organizations as well. Do right by these players. Set them up in good situations, and so we can really see where they thrive and where they need most work. Keeping them in the Arizona Complex League for 3 straight years, for any minor league player, you say, what are we doing? But again, if you look at the whole picture, 17 years old, now 21, battled through an injury in 2022, and having to find your way and getting back to that rhythm. I think in a team right now where the Inland Empire 66ers are at the bottom of the Cal League, you're going to give opportunities where opportunities can be had by these players coming up at this point of the season. You saw Rowdy Rodriguez, who was the Inland Empire Player of the Month for us, and California League's Offensive Player of the Month as well, and California League Player of the Week in certain weeks throughout the year as well. You're going to get these opportunities. Just because you're not a top 30 prospect does not make you valuable to this organization. And just because the Angels are the worst farm system, rated 30th in Major League Baseball, does not make you any less valuable. So Edgar Alfonzo, go out there, take advantage of the opportunities, make a name for yourself, and prove that the pedestrian numbers that were at the Arizona Complex League in your first 3+ years were not who you are as a player. And this is kind of that buildup to even the top guys like Christian Moore at AAA. These numbers don't define you. Keep on battling through as you go along, and you will get the reps. Look at the Angels right now. Very strong first 2 weeks of the season, went through a lull, and now they're coming outside of it. You see them sweeping the Dodgers last weekend, which was amazing within itself. They're playing really consistent power numbers, pitching numbers. This is a different Angel team over the last 2 weeks that we've seen the previous 2-3 weeks before that, which is a very different team 2-3 weeks before that at the beginning of the year. It comes in waves, the ebbs and flows. So that's kind of my message, not only to Alfonso, but to the entire Inland Empire 66er squad. And I know earlier in the week, Fernando and Todd had a great interview with Bridger Holmes, the closer for the Inland Empire 66ers. Go check out that interview. It was absolutely spotless. Beautiful work by the guys here on the Halos in the Infield crew. And it really gives you a mindset perspective of what's going on at the lower echelon part of this Angels minor league farm system. And I don't mean lower as in bad. I just mean it's single A. It goes single A, high A, double A, triple A. You have to work your way up in the ladder, and you'll get a good sense of that with Bridger Holmes in that interview. So kind of check that one out, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. It's an absolute great listen to here on the broadcast. But I think overall, when you kind of look into perspective, I think there's a right way and a wrong way to go about things if you are the Halos. And I think the best way to do it right now is to just get the job done. I don't care. I really don't care how you go about your business, as long as you're going about it the right way and looking to strive to get to the best case scenario as you progress in the Angel system. You're going to get your spots. You're going to get the opportunities, and you're going to get the coaching that you need. Again, regardless if the Angels have the 30th ranked farm system, the opportunities will come. For the 66ers, again, just to wrap up things on them, and as we get to the near end of this week's edition of the Angels Minor League Report, Inland Empire is finishing up a home series against the Modesto Nuts this week, which is the Seattle Mariners affiliate. Inland Empire, as of right now, 14-27, 14.5 games back of the California League South Division leaders, the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes in Southern California. It's a wild time, so plenty of baseball left to be played at all 4 levels of the minor league level, if it's the Bees, the Trash Pandas, the Dust Devils, or the Inland Empire 66ers. But I'm Dominick Lorenz of Catella Chronicles, thanking you for joining us on another episode of the Angels Minor League Report. I can't believe this is episode number 10 already. We have so many great shows coming through the pipeline. Not only mine, you have the Around the League show with James. You have Todd's post-game show that we love. Fernando and Vince's hot hoedown, hot take, whatever you want to call it. I always love nicknaming that show as a country music fan. I love my boots. I love my hat. And I think it's a great kind of a title to kind of hook you into what is the next big question that we have here. And we want to hear from you. Like, comment, subscribe. You also got Halo Joe doing his Cup of Joe business, kind of focusing on the history of Angels baseball. All our shows, amazing here at the network, for the fans, by the fans. That is what it's all about. 714 tickets. Bruheim. Bruheim was amazing last week for the watch party on the Freeway Series. Angels picking up that series sweep. Bruheim, we're scheduling some more watch parties live at Bruheim in the future. Maybe June, maybe July. We'll kind of see what the schedule is. Go to Bruheim, get some discounted prices on their awesome beer. The strawberry one was absolutely phenomenal. And don't forget, as I mentioned, 714 tickets. Get some discounted rates. Get 5% back in your pocket. It's always great. Ron Holt at 714 tickets, doing business here with Halos in the Infield. Underdog Sportsbook, the OC Dugout. Man, they're in for a wild ride. We love having them here at Halos in the Infield, and we love having you joining us as well. But that'll do it for the Angels Minor League Report this week. Keep cheering on the Angels faithful. It's the Bees, the Trash Pandas, the Dust Devils, and the Inland Empire 66ers. Keep cheering along the Halos as they look to continue to light that baby up and keep going on their winning ways and battling back in this AL West division. But until next week, enjoy your Memorial Day weekend holiday. Thank you to those that have served and have sacrificed their lives for our country. We appreciate you day in and day out. And to you, the fans, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, wherever it's at. You know where to find us. This is Halos in the Infield. This is Dominick Lorenz of Catella Chronicles saying thank you for watching and listening. And we'll see you next week for another episode of the Angels Minor League Report. As always, be happy, be healthy, go Angels, and we'll see you next time on the Angels Minor League Report.